This is what the installation is going to look like. So I have the sides, I have the back done. Let me show you the back. Or actually, this is the front of the shell. So what I'm going to do is glue the sides on, put the left and right hand sides. I'll let that dry, and then I'll put the carpet on, because these tend to flex in. So if I cover it beforehand, I think the material is going to wrinkle. So I'll glue the two sides on. This I'm going to cover, and then I'm going to put it on, and then I'll glue it on. I'll leave the areas around the window long so that I can bring them up and glue them here, and then the window frame will cover them. And then lastly, I'll put this, I'll cover the material on this before I put it on, or maybe I won't. I don't know, because this stuff, there's a lot of flex in this stuff. I'm afraid if I put the material on beforehand and then push the top down, it's going to wrinkle the material. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. But all the insulation's cut on it, so I'm ready to go on this. So I'm going to do 2 more tests using the headliner material before I go forward with attaching the insulation to the top of the, or to the sides and top of the topper. So I'm going to glue headliner material to this long piece because I can put some flex in there to simulate what it's going to be like when I either glue or screw the foam down to the contours of the top. So if I lay the material down when the foam is flat, and then it stays wrinkle free as I put a bend in the material, then that's great. Then I can cover these panels before I glue them to the topper, and that makes my life a lot easier. The second test is I tape these 2 pieces together and put this radius lead in on it. So I want to see what the material looks like when I have it like this, when I put some wrinkles in the tape, like right here. So I want to see what that's going to look like with the headliner material. Alright, so I'm going to add 1 more test, so that'll make it 3 tests. And I'm just going to leave this side straight, really rough, and then I'll glue it to here. So I want to see what this transition looks like. This is the material that I'm going to be using for the headliner. It's like a micro suede type material, and it has a foam backing on it. So it looks like that on the inside of it. So I'm hoping it doesn't collect too much dust. You could just blow it off, but I guess we'll see. So this is the last sample that I glued yesterday. I let it dry overnight, and this is the one where I had this really rough surface here. This is a surface I just cut using a drywall saw. And the nice thing about it is that the headliner material masks a lot of the surface imperfections. So I was worried that I had to make these surfaces super perfect, but even with this really rough surface, this headliner material with the foam backing, it really masks all of the imperfections of the surface, which is good for me, because even a slight imperfection may not show up very much. So I don't have to make the surfaces really perfect. But this one, I sanded it smooth, and the surface, the quality of the outcome is much better. So one thing I did notice is that this edge here isn't getting glued down, and it's because I laid it here and then I put it down here, and I should have tucked this in first and then had this surface stuck on last. So when I go to do my real topper headliner, I'm going to do that. But this came out really nice. Alright, and the last sample is the one that's on this big long board. And this one I was worried about if I put the headliner on first and then the board gets compressed down to the shape of the topper, is it going to crinkle this material? So when I put this headliner slash insulation board on the topper, it's going to compress it. It's going to compress it. It's not going to want to stretch the fabric. It's going to want to compress the fabric. So what I don't want happening is the material wrinkling when I start bending this board. So let's try to bend this board and see what it does to the material. Actually doesn't want to wrinkle at all, and I'm bending it quite a bit. I'm putting a big bend in it. It feels like the board's about to break, but the nice thing about it is the insulation or the headliner material isn't wrinkling, so that's really good. So now I can put with some sort of confidence, I can put the headliner material on the boards before I glue the boards to the inside of the topper. So that makes my life a lot easier. So that was a good test. All these were good tests. So having a nice smooth finish really helps out. But by the same token, having a surface imperfections in the surface really isn't going to keep. Hey guys, so I screwed up on something. I ran all these tests on these parts, making sure I understood how the surface smoothness or roughness affects the quality of the finished outcome, all these smooth surfaces. I even did the test on bendability and seeing if this wrinkles when this flexes. But what I forgot to do was look at what the adhesive does to the surface of the foam. So I did my first side, and it looks okay, but one thing I noticed was all these little divots that are happening in the foam. And then I realized, oh crap, that adhesive must be dissolving the foam, and that's exactly what it's doing. So I just did a light spray of adhesive on this, and you see how it's just pot marking this, it's just dissolving this foam. I did some searching on the internet, and it turns out other people have the same issue, in that they want to apply something to foam, but when they apply the adhesive on the foam, it starts dissolving the foam. And so there's a couple solutions. One of them is putting a primer specifically for foam on there prior to spraying with adhesive. So the primer protects the adhesive from the solvents and adhesive from dissolving the foam. So that's one method. The other method that they have is spraying the part with Plasti-Dip to protect the foam. So this is just something you buy at Home Depot or Amazon. And so this section I have sprayed with Plasti-Dip. This section here was one heavy wet coat, and you can see that the Plasti-Dip is dissolving some of the foam. And then this section I sprayed 2 light coats, and then in this section it's just 1 light coat. So what I'm trying to figure out is how much Plasti-Dip do I need to put on the foam to protect it from the solvents and the adhesive. So the next step is I'm going to spray the adhesive on to see which areas of the foam are affected. Spray the adhesive on, just gave it a few minutes, and you can see that on the first section that had just a light 1 coat spraying of Plasti-Dip that is still dissolving the foam. The 2 coats is dissolving it a little bit, but not nearly as bad as this. And then the heavy single coat where it just went on really wet, that doesn't look like it's dissolving at all. So I think what I need to do is put three light coats of the Plasti-Dip on the parts, and that should protect it from dissolving from the solvents and the adhesive.
And then I just got sick. I was really hoping to finish this build out in this video, but I guess it just wasn't meant to be. I still feel crummy. I'm going to continue trying to make videos. Hopefully my whatever I have doesn't get worse. But I apologize. I was hoping to have everything done with this video. All I can say is we'll just keep marching on.